Welcome to Constant Smiles.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to this episode of your Constant Smiles podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Rich Constantine, and I'm here with my co-host, Elijah Desmond. What's up, Elijah?
Hey, buddy. It's been too long, and you got a new background.
I know. I switched it up.
Almost every episode we go through, Rich will talk about my hair. So I just gave him, wanted to do this for this one, so this way he didn't say anything about my hair today. So, man, it's been a while. And Gabe, listen, it's so good to see you. Actually seeing you at PodFest right before this whole thing happened to the world. So I know we've been trying to get this thing to happen so while. It's great to see you. How you been, buddy?
Awesome, man. Yeah, you're the last person I saw before I shut my doors and hid for 6 months.
Awesome. So listen, I have this amazing, whole bio about you, right? And we're going to get there. But before I get there with that bio, we always ask our guests, how can we get to know you through your music? So Rich is going to ask you about the old school song, and I'm going to ask you about the new school song. We're going to get to know you through your music and then hear why you chose that song. So, Rich?
So, Gabe, I really like songs that take me back for that nostalgic feel. So what's that one song that when you hear it playing in the car, if you're somewhere and you hear it playing on the radio, that it takes you back to an earlier time?
Yeah, for me, it's 1979 by the Smashing Pumpkins. I just remember probably, 93, 94, laying in my bed as a kid, kind of sneaking music because I was not allowed to listen to rock and roll music when I was a kid. I had a very strict parents, and that song was cool. It was the top of the charts right when I was getting into rock and roll.
Good awesome stuff. All right, now it's time to hear it. I love it. And you know what? That actually took me back. I gotta admit, I'm not a huge rock and roll fan, but I like that song, and it totally took me back, and it relaxed me. There has to be movies that song's playing on. I just can't name which one it is.
Yeah, there's definitely a movie. I don't know which one it is either.
The music video itself was kind of cinematic too. It was a good one. If you ever saw the music video from that. That was, again, kind of right when MTV was at its peak as well. So it was a collision of a lot of things going on in the world.
So I was allowed to listen to the music, but I wasn't allowed to watch MTV. That was my rule.
When you got Jenny McCarthy and those kind of characters.
Oh, yeah.
A little risque for younger folks.
Yep.
That's awesome. So that's the old school, and everybody knows I'm the new school music. I want to know what you're listening to right now in your car. What are you going to in your car that's on repeat?
Well, I'll be very upfront and honest with you. Amazon Alexa knows me so well that they've got this thing now where it's like your channel or something, and they just create a playlist, kind of like Pandora does. But it's way better than Pandora. It's got me to a T. I like avant-garde music. I like electronic music. And so the one song probably that I've been listening to the most is called Jai Wolf. That is the artist, and the song is called Indian Summer. And it's just kind of a cool kind of electronic ambient beat.
All right, it's time to hear it. Yeah, that's the one. I like it. I didn't know what it was at first, and I'm like, come on now. Is it going to put me to sleep, or is the beat going to drop?
It's about
It does eventually drop a little bit, yeah. You know those lyrics, though, right? You know those lyrics.
Yes.
Kind of what I like about it. It's like, I don't know, I'm a traveler by nature. I love to go to far away places. So I feel like I'm in India or Asia or something listening to that. I have no idea what they're saying in the song, which is also a good thing because I can put that type of music on and get some work done. It doesn't distract me. Whereas if there's lyrics and things, sometimes it kind of pulls my attention away.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, listen, I think you remember this from Podfest. I don't really like to read off scripts for bios.
I'm with you, man. Forget that. That's bogus.
Yes. However, a lot of our viewers don't know what you do. I know that you are the founder of the Private Club Agency, and I kind of know the stuff that you do. But whenever I first heard that from the stage, I'm like, is this what it is? It's golf, but like, what is it? So can you just quickly tell us, like, what do you do before we get into some questions for you?
In a nutshell, I work with really exclusive private clubs and help them build memberships. So believe it or not, there's 3,500 private golf and country clubs in the country, 7,500 in the world. Of those, about 97% of them do not have a full membership, meaning they're looking to build their membership. And that's what I do. I help these clubs build their membership.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so also, like, Chris Cremenzo was like, listen, Gabe is like the #1 in the world at what he does. And I was trying to understand, like, what is it that you actually do? This makes sense to me. So there's only 3,500 private clubs, you said?
That's right. Yeah. If you think of like golf and country clubs, there's city clubs and think like yacht clubs and athletic clubs, but there's 3,500 in the country, about 7,500 around the world.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. So you have their ear.
I do. I have a podcast called the Private Club Radio Show. It's been the go-to podcast for the industry for the last 5 years. And my most recent endeavor is really a little bit more broader to the golf world in general. I've got a YouTube channel that's a golf travel show because I was doing my podcast and visiting clients all over the world. And I thought I should take some folks along for the journey.
That's awesome. Is that why you had your camera during Podfest? I think you had a camera, didn't you?
Yeah, well, for Podfest, I was speaking at VidFest, kind of my journey of 0 to 1,000 subscribers. But I was also doing the videos. We were creating the content for Podfest, doing all the videos for them.
That's awesome. And 0 to 1,000 subscribers. So listen, me and Rich, we're getting in the flow of things now. So we're gonna get to that level. This is early on for us. We're still trying to find our find our mojo there. So good stuff.
It's all about consistency and just in grinding it out. The mistake probably I made in the beginning was I tried to really overproduce things and worry about perfection, whereas yeah, I see you in that nice looking studio, Rich. In the beginning, it's really honestly, and coming from a person who's a creative and who cares about the end product. In the beginning with YouTube, it's really quantity over quality. I would say is just put more out.
That's awesome. Awesome. Good stuff. I'll turn it over to you, Rich.
Before we get into the questions, this is why I love doing these podcasts, because we meet such interesting people that do such interesting things. Are you in and out of these clubs that you are doing the membership things for? Have you ever run into any, celebs or things like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Some of these places are very storied, like for instance, not too far from us, Isleworth Country Club over in Orlando. They've got, Tiger Woods used to be a member there. That's where his incident happened, if you remember that.
Yeah.
But like the entire locker room's filled with celebrities at all times. I walked in there. I forget who was there. I was in Kansas City and George Brett was there. He just walked by and they're like, "Hey, Mr. Brett." I didn't even put two and two together, but yeah, it's all the time that's happening. Yeah.
That's so cool. How did you get your start in doing something like that? Because I joke all the time because we get these people on with such interesting occupations, and like I think back to my guidance counselor in school. It's like, hey, where were you on this, man? That wasn't an option.
I mean, do you want the whole origin story? You want the Reader's Digest condensed? All right,
give it to me.
So about 12 years ago, I was living on a really tiny, small island, 30 miles wide in the middle of the Pacific in the Philippines called Siquijor. And I was living there. I was taking a year off from my life, basically. And I lived there with my best friend of mine, and my uncle also lived on that island. He was a missionary there helping the folks. But my friend and my uncle both had to go back to the United States. And so for the first time in my life, I was on, for all intents and purposes, a desert island. I was pretty much the only Caucasian guy on the whole island. There might have been one other guy hiding out somewhere. And I was really, truly alone for the first time in my life. And so I would play basketball with the guys because I like to, play basketball and whatnot. And I was playing with these firemen who these guys would always take my money, by the way. They always managed to miss all the shots when I was on their team, and they were always betting, but I digress. So what, I'm playing with the firemen. They say, Gabe, would you like to go to the let's play. Do you like to play tennis? I said, yeah, I like to play tennis. I just love sports. It's my thing. Hey, would you like to go to the Sikior Tennis Club with me? And so I did. I ended up joining the Sikior Tennis Club. I was the first American who ever joined the club. This private club, very, very exclusive on the island, cost me all of $20 for an initiation fee, which was for them big money, but just loved it. I spent mornings and nights there every day. I went home to my little grass hut on the beach for afternoon naps when it was really hot outside. But in the morning and the evening, I played tennis nonstop, made really great friends, really enjoyed my time. And, I belong now to this big, giant, club. There's 1,200 members. It's very fancy. But in the end, it's really all about community. It's the same thing that I had there in Sikior is community. And so I'm passionate about building communities, about, folks connecting. That's how I got into the private club space. When I started my marketing agency, I saw that there was a need for someone like me to come in and innovate what they were doing. Being naturally into golf and into tennis and things like that, it was a good fit.
Very cool. So how long have you been doing that?
Yeah, so I started my business 2011. So I guess we're about to hit a decade or so here. I really started focusing on clubs about 8 years ago. And then once I started the private club radio show, that's really what helped me really take off in terms of my brand. It became a platform for me to start to write books. I've written a number of books that are very specific to how do you build membership at a private club and how do you market a membership. And from that, it's just grown and grown. So, but yeah, I guess about somewhere between 10 to 8 years ago is when it got started.
Very cool. So now we'll get into the questions with knowing all these things and all these things that you've done and accomplished and being one of the first people to do these things. How is your work, family, leisure life? I stopped using the word balance because it's hard to achieve, but your focus, how are you able to focus on those things and make the most of all of them?
Yeah, well, to be honest, COVID was a real curse for us all, but it was in a way really a blessing for me because it really helped me get more balance that I probably did not have. Traveling a lot, working. I was on the road at least, twice a month away from my kids. I have two kids. I have a 4 and a 7-year-old, two boys. Wow. And this is a really critical time in their life. And so this whole pandemic gave me the opportunity to be with them, which I really appreciated, spending more time with my kids, kind of being at home more. I fixed up a bunch of stuff that probably needed fixing for years, but I was just never in the mode to do it, never cared enough to do it. And that's been really good. I think my wife's appreciated that. Yeah, it is a tough juggling act as an entrepreneur. My wife also has her own business. And so sometimes we're like strangers passing, like I'll work during the day and she'll have the kids and vice versa in the evening and we switch off. So it can certainly be challenging, but I try to be with the moments I have, I'm trying and more to be as mindful as possible and to really appreciate those moments and to focus and be fully present for my kids.
That's awesome. So my next question is what do you do to help focus and manage your stress? And I think the word golf is out of the question.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's got to be one of them. And just, I think athletics in general is a great way to relieve stress. And I think I've struggled with things. You know, I've struggled with anxiety, and I've struggled with not being focused at times. And I really think a lot of it comes down to diet. So when my diet is in line, the rest of my body's in line, and so that's certainly one way. I can't say that I'm a constant practitioner, but I try to meditate from time to time at least. I really should get in the mode where I do that on a daily basis. But to be honest, haven't been there. But meditation certainly is another way to do it. When I started speaking, and a gentleman that you've had on this show before, Chris Krimitsos, is really the person who kind of gave me the nudge to start doing that. When I started speaking about 5 years ago, I was like a nervous wreck to go on stage. But one thing that is really interesting that I learned, believe it or not, from my wife's pregnancy, we went to this, she was in this thing called hypnobirthing. But they taught you breathing techniques. There's actually a breathing technique that I use anytime I'm feeling stressed or, or going into a stressful environment, like I'm going to walk on stage or whatnot. I'll use this technique and it really calms me quickly.
Does it have a name?
No, but I could explain it to you pretty quickly. So it's basically 4 seconds to breathe in through your nose for 4 full seconds, and then to exhale very slowly for 8 seconds. If you do that, when I do that twice, that rhythm, 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out, 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out, that is something naturally just kind of like clicks in. I can really by about the 12th second, I can start to feel myself just really ground. It's pretty interesting.
Cool.
Awesome.
Never believed or heard of any of that before hypnobirthing, but hypnobirthing absolutely worked. I mean, my wife had our children naturally, no epidurals, nothing, and it was quite remarkable. So there's something to it for sure.
Awesome.
So along those lines, for so long that I had all this stuff going on, and I focused on diet and exercise, but I failed to condition my mind and realize the importance of the visualization and meditation and all those things. And it's so much harder than physical exercise to just sit there with your thoughts. Do you use any kind of meditating, the headsets or the fitness bands or anything like that?
I don't. I really don't. I mean, although I did have an Apple Watch once that I think it would call. I forget what it did. It was called Pause or something like that. And so it would be like breathe for 1 minute, and then it would clock that minute. But really, no. Other than I do have a friend who does some guided meditations, and from time to time I'll put one of hers on and relax to that as well.
Cool. I think all of us being so busy, we think about the future and what's coming up, and we're such planners and visualizers that sometimes we forget to live in the present. What are some things that you do to kind of disconnect from all the things that you have going on to kind of center yourself and bring you back to the moment?
Yeah, I've been, and I'm not by any means a guru or anything like that. And I've got a long way to go in my own personal development in this area for sure. I'll be the first to admit, but I'm trying my best to really be mindful. And what does that mean? It's like really just using your 5 senses. So if I'm with my kids, I try to just look deeply and like kind of look at their features of their face, whether it's the expression they're making or their eyelashes or something. What does it smell like in the room? What does it sound like? And just really focus in and tune into those moments. And like I said, I don't do it as much as I should, but when I do, that certainly does it for me.
Cool.
Awesome. So what were the biggest challenges that you had to get where you're at today? And were there any memorable failures on the way to success?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm with what I've done in trying to build my own personal brand and whatnot. It's just kind of one failure on top of another in a lot of ways.
Sounds like Rich.
I don't know if there's any that are completely memorable. I mean, my first ever speaking engagement, I would say I completely bombed. My mouth got dry. I was just my head was like everywhere, like every random thought going through your mind. I don't feel like I was very focused, but I will say at the end, and this is something that maybe will help some other people who are going to step onto a stage overcome their fear a little bit. As long as the content is good, that's what people remember, right? Not so, when you can step back from it being about yourself and really being about the message. So people came up to me after that speaking engagement and said they loved it, but for me, it was a complete bomb. So that was certainly one. That's a muscle that I've had to build over the years. Even doing something like this, talking to you guys, talking to a camera, I was not comfortable doing something like that five years ago. I probably would have been a horrible interviewee or guest. So it's absolutely a muscle that I've had to build and exercise over time. My podcast was a great way to do that because I could speak with people. And even my first podcasts were horrible. It was me like reading the questions, but it's really it's like any muscle. We talked about exercising, Rich. It's like any other muscle that you exercise. The more you do it, the more you practice, the more comfortable you get doing it. So certainly it's been a long journey figuring that out. Now, in terms of like business, I'm a creator, so I'm constantly trying things. For instance, when COVID rolled out, we created a online ordering menu system for our clients. That didn't do very well for whatever reason. Maybe it was just we missed the timing by a week. Who knows? We've rolled out apps. That's a pretty big failure, I guess. We created an app for golf courses for for people to track their shots, to order food, things like that. We built a beautiful system. But in the end, it didn't take off because I wasn't quick enough to get it to market. And what happened was after a couple months, a few of our competitors came in and just crushed us. So I think time, really being able to time and execute efficiently and effectively is certainly a lesson I learned there. But in entrepreneurship, I'm always, trying things, and some things hit and some things don't. And you really just can't let the ones that don't get you down, or else you'll never get up to that next level.
Can you feel yourself with when you get really busy and focused on something like that? Can you feel yourself yearning for like the time where you can step away? Because sometimes I get so busy that I lose all creativeness, because the creativeness comes when I'm like just sitting in a room relaxing or doing something away from all the other stuff. It's hard for me to visualize or to innovate while I'm actually in it doing the work. Do you find that too?
Yeah, absolutely. In some ways, yeah. I think my more creative moments are not when I'm stuck in a task, but I will say I'm a very task-oriented person. So
Same.
I can get in the zone and just knock things out. And I think that again has been a little bit of a secret sauce that I've had. I think so many people, again, strive for that perfection that they never complete the task, or they never, at some point you've got to sort of, again, disconnect yourself from it, put it out there. And it's, what does Google say? Like, move fast and break things or something is their slogan. In some ways that's good, in some ways that's bad. But I will just say that, there's paralysis by analysis that can happen with entrepreneurs so often. But oftentimes it's much better just to get started. Chris, again, who was on your book, I wrote the foreword to that book, Start Ugly, his incredible book that you guys have talked about on this podcast. But it's get it out. And then you can always, hone it and find what works. And a lot of times for instance, with my YouTube channel, I started, again, this very big production, almost like a Hollywood style production. And I found that's not really what was connecting with my audience. It was me in front of a camera, like a GoPro type camera, talking to the audience that they connected with. So I never would have learned that though if I didn't put it out to begin with. So it's putting it out and then tweaking, and stepping back and kind of realizing where you can improve. I think that's where the magic is.
Nice. I'm motivated by it because I turned 40 in a couple of weeks, and I was thinking driving the other day. I was like, how much time I spend just mulling over the minutia of the things that I think people care about. And then how impressed I am when I see that people appreciate humility and vulnerability a lot more than, perfection most of the time. And I'm envious of people that they just do it. They don't even care what anybody thinks. Like, they could be the worst singer in the world, but they'll get up and do karaoke, and they have a great time doing it. And it's just little things like that. Yeah. So I gotta be more like you when it comes to that
well,
stuff.
I'll still say, like, that's another thing that just comes more with practice. Again, and the more you put yourself out there, the more you open yourself up and become more vulnerable. So it's a naturally occurring cycle there. But yeah, if anyone's stuck, I would definitely tell them, put it out there, get it out, then go through the refinement process, and that's where the creation really happens.
Well, cool. Well, you're such an innovative thinker and creative person. What's next for you?
Well, yeah, I've teamed up with a friend of mine who actually helped me along my YouTube journey. His name's Alex Wadsworth. He actually has a very large following for his YouTube channel. I think they just crossed over 250,000 subscribers. But just a great guy, has a lot to offer, so much knowledge. And so I'm actually teaming up with him. We've created a company called Tube Sherpa. So basically, we're helping people get started along the YouTube journey, and really content creation journey in general. And so him and I will be coaching people through the process, basically teaching you all the mistakes that both he and I have made along the way, so that you have a shortcut to success, especially when it comes to YouTube.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we're going to end with two things that are pretty simple. The first thing is, listen, we're both dental professionals. Typically, we give Rich an opportunity to lay a joke in on there. I know he felt that jab earlier. So I'm not going to let him give you back this episode, but we're both dental professionals. Here's what I want to know. And just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind.
I do have all my molars, by the way.
Awesome. Rich will extract the ones, the thirds, baby. I'm a hygienist, so I won't be extracting anything. I'll polish them up there for you, though. I'll have to ask the dentist to do that. But quick question. As a patient, okay, would you rather be called or texted to confirm your appointment?
That's a good one. Definitely texted, I would say.
Okay, awesome. Well, actually, one of our biggest sponsors here for Constant Smiles, they're called Weave, and Weave does that. They actually text message you reminders and completely text message you, from the office's phone number themselves. So they basically take that line and use it as a text line, which normally wouldn't be possible. And they text you reminders and can text back and forth. So awesome answer. Thanks. That was not a layup, everybody. I didn't ask him to say
I
that.
hope you weren't sponsored by a phone bank or something.
Yeah, right. They are a phone service. Actually, they do have phones. But that's awesome. So that's great. My next question is this: we always end the show by doing 2 call outs for our next guest. Who do you think would be perfect for the show that Rich and I should go and reach out to?
All right, cool. Well, I mentioned my friend who does meditations, and she's just a fantastic person in general. Her name's Diane Allen. Diane A. Allen. She does something called Visionary Meditation for Visionary Leaders, and just a great human being. So she would certainly be at the top of my list. And then number 2, I will go with the guy behind me across from this wall. His name's Naeem Hamdar. He's got a really interesting story. He's building an incredible business around credit card processing, which is kind of it's been known as kind of like a sleazy business, but this guy is really an innovator and is changing and breaking the mold. So his name's Naeem Hamdar of Card Connect here in Florida, and he'd absolutely be a great person to have on the show.
Awesome. And you mentioned another guy named Alex Wadsworth. Is that right? Is that your?
Yeah.
Would he be good?
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially if you want to talk about building a personal brand.
Awesome. Well, Rich is the one that did that very well for himself, right? He'll build an amazing brand. Not that he loves dancing or not, but he
I'm stuck in my head, man. I'm stuck in my head. I gotta let it go. Let it go.
gotta let it go. Gotta let it go. Good stuff. All right. Any last words, Rich? Any last words, Gabe?
I appreciate having you on, Gabe. It's real inspiring to have you and hear your story and all that you got going on.
So fun to be with you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm honored to be on the show.
All right. Thank you and take care.
Thank you for listening to Constant Smiles.